What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live start-sit edition with the Fatboyz Dynasty Podcast, guys. Week 10 football is live. We have a contest going on in Germany again this week between the Indianapolis Colts and the New England Patriots. Already have a touchdown on the board with a JT 1-yard rush. Brant, another full day of football. Again, we've been so spoiled this year by the NFL schedule makers. We've had 5 weekends now where we've had football from the time we open our eyes till the time we close them at the end of the day. Just a wonderful deal. Football's such a short season anyway, but to get blessed with games from all day long is just about as much as you could ask for, Brant.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an okay contest this morning. Nothing to really knock your socks off. So far, it's been a pretty decent game with the defenses. But yeah, they spoiled us this year. And in my mind, it almost lost the excitement of them because it is almost every week. I think we had 4 weeks total this year so far without, or 3 weeks total without a morning game. So yeah, it's great to have it all day, but sometimes I feel like we just need to let's slow it down. We don't need this many, or maybe do 2 games, or I don't know, maybe do the Thursday night game over there. I don't know, but it just doesn't seem as exciting to have overseas games when it's every single week. But yeah, it's like you said, it's a good day of football. You get breakfast, lunch, and dinner all covered. All 3 meals will be covered.
Absolutely. Brent, I don't know if you take this week's Thursday night game and put it overseas, if it does much to entice overseas fandom with the Panthers and the Bears with Tyson Bagent.
It was a decent game, though. It turned out to be obviously no fantasy relevancy, but with the defenses and the score, it turned out to be a decent game. I didn't get to watch a whole lot of it, but I mean, from what I did see, it turned out to be a pretty decent game. I'm not going to say anything about it being great and fun, but it wasn't atrocious like everyone thought it would be.
Yeah, it was the first time in the NFL history we'd seen the Heisman Trophy winner against the Hallman Trophy winner, which is like the D2 trophy for best player. So
yeah,
that was kind of cool to see, I guess, even if those 2 quarterbacks didn't necessarily light the scoreboard up. Like you said, there wasn't a whole lot of fantasy relevancy. I think the only thing you could even kind of be excited about was Deontay Foreman, I guess, at the end of his game, just due to his volume and his touchdown. But other than that, there wasn't much.
Yeah, I'm sure you were.
Yeah, Thielen hurt.
Yeah, Thielen hurt me in 1 league too.
All right, Brant, we've got our first question in this week. Let's get after it. Adam says, Jordan Addison, Christian Watson, Drake London, half-point PPR. Pick one, he says.
I'm going Jordan Addison here. I think that high-scoring game in New Orleans, I think he's the best pass catcher. Hawkinson's a little banged up. I actually like Jordan Addison this week. I expect him to have a huge game this week.
Yeah, so typically I would go Drake London here, as I'm rocking the Drake London jersey again this week, Brant. However, Drake London missed last week's game due to the groin injury. This is the Falcons' last game before a bye week. I think Arthur Smith has kind of been ridden pretty hard by the media this week, rightfully so, about his Bijan usage and things like that. So I don't think you see a whole lot of Drake London this week, just due to the fact that I think because of the bye week next week, you see him kind of get eased into things this week and then, make sure that groin's healthy. So I do go with Addison as well in this one. Christian Watson's a complete fade for me at this point, which is really hard for me, Brant. You know that because I was about one of the biggest Christian Watson truthers I know. But the truth is Jordan Love stinks, and I'm not tying any of my fantasy success to that. So Jordan Addison for me.
Jordan Love might have been one of the best preseason quarterbacks this year.
Could be. John says Tank Dell, Deontay Johnson, or London in wide receiver 3 in standard scoring.
Ooh-wee. That makes a little difference here.
It does. It sure does.
Johnson finally found the end zone for the first time in a while this past week. Tank Dell had a huge game. Is Nico out? Did I read that somewhere? Okay.
He is
I
out.
think I have to go with Tank. I think Tank will be the number one. Him and Schultz will be the beneficiary of it. So I think I have to actually go with Tank Dell here. I think he has a better chance of finding the end zone. Houston plays Cincy and won a high-scoring game, the highest-scoring game in the noon slate. So, yeah, give me Tank Dell.
Yeah, again, if this was PPR, I think I do go Deontay Johnson, but in standard scoring, I want Tank Dell. Just like you alluded to, Brant. High-scoring contest there between the Bengals and the Texans should get pretty fun. No Nico Collins. I like Tank Dell quite a bit as well this week. So give me the Texans wide receivers this week. Kevin says, good morning, y'all. Hollywood Brown, Chris Godwin, or Jacoby Myers. He does comment again right after this and say, pick one. So who do you like out of those three, Brant?
I'm not benching Jacoby. He has had one bad week. I think he's the beneficiary of it. I think I start Jacoby. I next week you ask me this, and after Hollywood Brown and Kyler have 1 week together, I think I may pivot, but I think I start Jacoby over them right now.
Yeah, so I do think the Falcons have had some problems the last couple of weeks with quarterbacks making their NFL debuts. I do think that continues this week. Kyler will have his way with my Atlanta Falcons. I think the problem is for me, Brant, is I don't feel comfortable starting any Raiders pass catchers against the number one defense against the pass in the NFL. You've got Michael Carter playing really good second fiddle there to Sauce Gardner, and Sauce really isn't following anybody this year. So I think Jacoby will see a healthy dose of him as well. I'm out on all things Raiders this week with the exception of Josh Jacobs. Give me Chris Godwin in this one against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The target shares there for Chris Godwin. I know his fantasy numbers aren't quite as good as Mike Evans, but the target shares there. I think Chris Godwin has a fairly good contest this week. Again, I do think Hollywood Brown could be a good play this week against my Atlanta Falcons, who have been gashed lately in the secondary, but it's Chris Godwin for me here.
Okay.
Tony says, good morning, fellas. Pick up Ferguson, but a little worried today could be a big blowout versus Giants, so could run a lot. So who do you play between Ferguson or Evan Ingram in full point PPR, Brant?
Man, Evan Ingram's got San Fran. I think that game's going to be a lot closer. San Fran's been on a downslide. I know they're getting healthier. Trent Williams is questionable to play. It sounds like he's going to play. And then the defensive line, how's that going to look? I still have to lean Evan Ingram. He's been the guy that Trevor Lawrence leans on for a lot of checkdowns. I think his upside against that pass rush could really, really help out. So I think I do lean Evan Ingram, all because I do believe that Dallas game is going to turn into a huge blowout again.
I think this Giants keep it a little closer this time, not necessarily due to anything they do, but I just think maybe the Cowboys don't have their foot on the gas quite as hard. So I do go Jake Ferguson. I don't want to start any tight ends against Fred Warner and that San Francisco 49ers defense. That just scares the crap out of me. I know there's a good chance that Trevor Lawrence is good enough that he could put up numbers still, but I'm terrified of that pass rush in San Fran. And I already was before the addition of Chase Young, who makes his debut with the Niners this week after the trade deadline acquisition they made for him. I'm terrified of that. I don't want to start any quarterbacks against it. I'm nervous as all get out for that contest there for the Jags this week. So I'm out on Evan Ingram this week.
Him and Bosa over there singing Reunited.
And it feels so scary for opposing quarterbacks. All right, Tony says, quarterback question, Jared Goff this week or Sam Howell? So you've got Sam Howell against your Seahawks, Brant, and that secondary who's really starting to come into their own. I know it didn't look that way last week necessarily, but I think you guys got beat by the run more so than the pass.
Oh, yeah, well, our secondary looked just fine. I mean, if you look at the numbers, I think he threw for maybe 200 yards, but I mean, our secondary is just fine. I got to go Goff here. I do. I have to go Goff. He's got all the weapons in the world there. It's going to be a high-scoring game, I think, against the Chargers. Just shootout.
Highest one of the week.
Yeah, highest one of the week. Good chance for a shootout. I got to go with Goff there.
Yeah, I'm also going Goff here. Again, the Chargers secondary is nothing to write home about. Should have healthy pass catchers for Goff. Montgomery's back, so the run game will be, a focal point again that the defense has to watch. I like Goff this week. Were you going to say something there, Brant? I didn't want to move on.
Yeah, I know the Chargers secondary has looked a little better over the past few weeks, but they've played people like Zach Wilson and Badgett. But then they got, torched by the Chiefs. So, I mean, a lot of people are starting to look like their secondary looks better, but look at the quarterbacks they've played. Jared Goff is not a Zach Wilson or a Tyler Badgett.
Fair point.
They were one of the worst secondaries prior to 2 weeks ago, and I think they still are. They just got lucky to run into a few downside quarterbacks.
Fair point, Brant. Fair point. Chris says, good morning, guys. Need help with wide receiver 2 in his flex. My options are Mike Evans, Marquise Brown, Saquon Barkley, and Kenneth Walker.
So I expect a huge week out of Mike Evans. That's why I faded Chris Godwin a few questions ago. I expect Mike Evans to be the beneficiary this week of that game. So I'm actually going to go Mike Evans. I want to say Kenneth all off a gut because I feel like we have to get back to the run, but I'm not gonna bench Saquon Barkley. I don't care if he plays Dallas or not. I'm not gonna bench Saquon Barkley. I know last time it didn't look pretty, but you got a rookie quarterback in there who's going to lean on him even more than the Giants already have. So I'm not benching Barkley. It may not look the prettiest, but I think I'm going to go Mike Evans and Barkley.
Man, oh man, oh man. Yeah, again, Brown's the wide receiver 20 on the season right now. He's had a really, really good year, but I also want to see what that looks like with Kyler Murray. Joshua Dobbs looked great all season in Arizona. I'm not saying Kyler Murray isn't capable of that at all. He's missed a lot of football here. I want to see what it looks like once the rest is off. So I go Mike Evans too. Saquon Barkley or Kenneth Walker. Obviously, Saquon's got the tougher matchup this week. I just think he's going to be such a focal point of that Giants offense that I have to start him. And also, Brant, selfishly, I'm really, really, really pulling for like a Geno Smith explosion, like 500 yards passing, 4 or 5 touchdowns, just because I'm starting him against you in our home league this week. So I got to hope that Kenneth Walker has a slow day because you're also starting him against me. So I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley here for those reasons.
So another thing about fading Brown is James Conner's back too this week. He was activated and he will play. So I'm expecting a heavy dose of James Conner to really work that rust off. So that's the other thing that shades me a little bit on that offense. I know you guys are pretty good against the run.
If you have James Conner, you start James Conner this week. No Grady Jarrett out for the season for the Atlanta Falcons. And then David Onyemata, who was our free agency pickup, the other beef of the interior of our defensive line, who's been really good this year, is also questionable. I doubt he plays. And if he does, I doubt he's on the field much this week. Again, going into a bye week. So James Conner is a definite start for me this week. All right, Yusuf says, good morning, guys. A few questions. Who's the favorable matchup, by the way, McBride or Ferguson? And then, so let's talk about that first, then we'll get into these other ones here, Brant. So do you like Trey McBride against my Atlanta Falcons or Ferguson against the New York Giants?
McBride is the guy that I see is the beneficiary of the Kyler return. Like you said, you got to shake off some rust. So what's he going to do? He's going to try to do a little check downs, small routes, short routes to his tight ends, get into some type of rhythm, get into some type of game mode. I think McBride really favors this week. And I like McBride to start this week.
Did you just make a short joke when you were talking about Kyler Murray?
Maybe. No matter how I do it, I'm short too.
I like Trey McBride as well this week. Again, I think Jake Ferguson's probably okay in that Dallas game. I think he's going to be a part of them getting up to a good lead. But you should see 4 quarters of Trey McBride being involved in this contest against the Atlanta Falcons again. I'm okay with Trey McBride and start with Kyler, like you said, easy way for him to build up some confidence, get some easy completions to McBride there. All right, moving on. Red Hot Stroud or Will Purdy bounce back? For me, I'm going to go real quick with this one, Brant. Stroud doesn't come out of my lineup the rest of the season. He's earned it. He's in there. Purdy is more of a system quarterback in my mind, and I know he's got his healthy weapons back. Deebo Samuel's back this week, but I'm still not sitting CJ Stroud for nothing at this point.
Yeah, no, Stroud's a set it and forget it almost QB right now. Even missing Nico Collins this week, he still has Tank Dell, who exploded. And Dalton Schultz. I love CJ Stroud this week, especially in a shootout game against Cincinnati.
Yeah, absolutely, Brant. And then he says, is Jamar Chase still a game time decision? Last I had looked, he still was. Let me pull that up right now.
Yeah, last I looked, he still was, and they want to see how his back does during warm up. So you may be waiting until almost last minute. And then again, he could be a guy that's, and I hate to say this, but he could be a guy that's activated, play one down, and then all of a sudden his back tightens up and he doesn't play another one. He's a scary play for me this week, especially when it comes to back stiffness.
Yeah, so if Jamar Chase is one of them that's really hard to say, like, if he's active, you don't play him. But you're right, Brant, it's scary this week what may happen if he doesn't play. The last update was about an hour ago that says he's definitely a 50-50 at best chance to play. I would doubt seriously that he goes. They risk further injury to him. So I don't think you see Jamar Chase this week personally, Yusuf.
Unfortunately, I have to play Joe Burrow, and he's missing half his weapons.
It's all right. Sherman says, I got 2 today, Hill or Ferguson at tight end. Okay, so we've got Taysom Hill against the Minnesota Vikings, who is currently a lot better than most people thought he would be this year, or Jake Ferguson at tight end, Brant. Who do you go with at tight end?
Man, I hate saying Hill, but Hill, I'm pretty sure, has scored a touchdown in like the last 2
Say
weeks.
it with me. Say it with me. It's Taysom Hill. Say it with me. Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill. It is. It shouldn't be, but it is.
The man is getting all the carries inside the 5-yard line for that offense. He is the bruiser running back. He has thrown touchdown passes this year, and he's running the second highest amount of routes for the New Orleans Saints offense. It's Taysom Hill. Sherman, you start him with a fair amount of confidence. I do think the bottom drops out on this eventually. He can't hold up to that kind of a workload all season, I don't think. But right now, you play Taysom Hill. That goes for everybody. If you've got him and it's not any the other option in your lineup aren't Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce, you play Taysom Hill. All right, and then he says for his flex, Brant, he's got Jordan Addison, Deontay Johnson, or James Conner at flex. Man, and he does go on to say both these questions are in the same league, so that does change my answer a touch.
I go with Deontay Johnson. He's a target monster there. A PPR league, I have to go Deontay Johnson. He's a guy in PPR leagues that I have a hard time sitting.
Yeah, so I agree. Deontay Johnson is the PPR target guy that you love to see, and he gives you that safety valve in case Taysom Hill's bottom drops out this week, which, again, I do not expect to happen. But he is Deontay Johnson's your safest play here. James Conner, what is he going to look like in his first week back off of injury? I go with Deontay Johnson and Taysom Hill there. All right, Jennifer says, morning, going to have several questions during the live. Sutton or Tank Dell, Brant? So Sutton's Monday against the Buffalo Bills.
I don't care about Tank Dell. He's going to be the number one target there in that high-scoring game. Give me Tank Dell.
I completely agree with you. It's Tank Dell for me as well, Brant. I'm big on the Houston Texans this week. She comes back and says, at flex, Chris Godwin, Jalen Warren, Michael Thomas, or Sutton?
Well, if they get the cuffs off of Thomas in time, that's not a bad play.
I think you just wanted to say it. Something about
I did. Have you seen the all arrest team for Derek Carr lately?
It's pretty good. Pretty good roster.
Lineup. That wouldn't be a bad fantasy one either. I think I go Chris Godwin right here with this. I do. Michael Thomas he's had a few games where he's just been a complete bust. There's been a few games where he gets his 5 receptions and 45, 50 yards. I think I have to go Godwin here. I do. I think that's going to be I think there's going to be a lot more points in that game than a lot of people are expecting.
I'm on board with you here, Brant. I like Chris Godwin as well. I know a lot of people are really starting to, clamor for Jalen Warren, which I don't understand. Najee looked really good last week. And Mike Tomlin's made it pretty obvious that doesn't matter how much more explosive Jalen Warren is, he's not giving him the bulk of the carries. It's just not a thing that's going to happen in Pittsburgh. So I like Najee over Jalen still. So I'm Chris Godwin through and through on that one. Matt says, good morning, guys. Who is going to be the best flex play? Gus Edwards, Alexander Madison, Deontay Johnson, or Hollywood Brown in full point PPR, Brant?
I got to go with Deontay Johnson here. Gus Edwards will probably fall in the end zone probably 3 times and have like 6 yards total. But I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson on this one in a PPR league.
I'm probably still going Deontay Johnson in a PPR league. I actually have Alexander Madison to fall into the end zone this week that we'll talk about later. So I think he has a relatively decent day for fantasy, but I like Deontay Johnson. He's too safe. The volume's there for him right now. Pickett is looking his way just about every chance he's getting. I don't know if that's swayed at all by the simple fact that George Pickens threw his little fit and, is demanding the ball and doing all that stuff he is while he's on a rookie contract still with a couple years of control. It makes no sense, but I think I go Deontay Johnson still.
My Gus Edwards' little preview into our underdog segment.
There you go. A little preview. All right. Jennifer comes back and says, Lamar Jackson or CJ Stroud, Brant?
Man, that's a tough one. I'm going CJ, though. I expect that game to be exploding in points. I expect it to be a shootout game. I have to go CJ Stroud. I expect that Cleveland-Baltimore game to be, let's put the ball on the ground and let's see what happens here. Let's see who can pound it out the best.
Yeah, there's also 2 really, 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 really good defenses in that Browns-Ravens game. And I think that Browns defensive line will keep Lamar in check with his legs. So I actually do go CJ Stroud over him as well. And then the other part of this question, Brant, is Jahmyr Gibbs or James Conner?
I'm going Gibbs here. He's looked too good with Montgomery out. I don't see how they can't keep using him. Obviously, his load will come down a little bit, but I just don't see how you can just put him in the backseat just because Montgomery's back.
I go Gibbs over Connor. Again, don't know what Connor's going to look like his first week back. Up until the last couple of weeks, Atlanta's been pretty good against the run. I know we're missing 2 interior defensive linemen this week, so I expect James Conner to be okay. Gibbs is just absolutely too electric right now, so I have a hard time sitting him. Kayla Van Eck says, I need a flex. Exploding head. Madison, Tyler Boyd, or Noah Brown is available. I can't decide. Brant, this one feels pretty obvious to me. Well, maybe not as much so as I had a thought. Where's your head at here? If Jamar Chase doesn't play, is it Tyler Boyd?
Yeah, I think even if he does play, it's Tyler Boyd, just because he's going to be the number 2 guy there, even if Chase plays. If Chase doesn't play, he's the number 1 guy there. Highest scoring game of the week. I expect Tyler Boyd to explode this week. I expect it to be an old Tyler Boyd game from like 2 years past where he was constantly a great wide receiver too, and you're going to get him in your flex spot. I absolutely love Tyler Boyd this week.
Yeah, so Alexander Madison feels like a safe play to me, Kayla. I think, like I said, I expect him to see the end zone this week. No Cam Akers after he tore his Achilles. So it's Madison, and then Ty Chandler will probably be the backup this week. So I expect to see a healthy dose of Madison. But Tyler Boyd definitely has this higher ceiling, which goes up even more so if there's no Jamar Chase. So a coin flip for me. If you want the high ceiling, Tyler Boyd, safe floor is Alexander Madison. Brant, I'm going to let you take Pop's question.
CJ Stroud. It's short and sweet, Pops. CJ Stroud. Don't take him out of your lineup unless you're playing me. If you're playing me this week, go ahead and start Brock Purdy or not a quarterback at all. But no, it's CJ Stroud, Pops. And then me and Bo are both in agreement on this one. Stroud is a set it and forget it type of guy now. Don't drop him again, Pops, just because he has a bad week.
Yep, I agree. Jay coming at us. Good morning, fellas. Cheese omelet or leftover pizza for breakfast?
Put the pizza in the omelet. Pizza omelet.
I had leftover schnitzel pizza for breakfast this morning, so I'm on team pizza for breakfast. So
pizza omelet. Put it all together, man.
Brent says both, which is probably okay.
Take that crust off and just chop that pizza up. Throw that into the omelet, fold that bad boy up, and get you a pizza omelet.
There you go. Pizza omelet. Inventing things on the Fatboys live start sits here.
I think I might go
Kayla
make
says,
a pizza omelet.
Kayla says, Dak or golf this week, Brant?
Oh. I think I go golf just because I don't know how much Dak's going to have to throw the ball.
Absolutely.
That defense might end up scoring all the points against the Giants. So I have to go with golf.
Absolutely. Completely in agreement again here. It's golf. Dak should be in the MVP conversation at this point in the season. He's killing it right now. But how bad does he have to kill the Giants this week? So, yeah, give me golf, who should be involved in a 4-quarter contest again. Bill says DeAndre Hopkins or Garrett Wilson, Brant?
D-Hop. I absolutely love him this week. I'll talk about him later on as one of my favorite plays this week. DeAndre Hopkins against that beat-up Bills Bucs secondary, who's I think is like third worst against the pass. I'd have to double-check that. Second worst against the pass. Give me D-Hop all day long in that contest. And with Will Levis there, yes, please.
So Will Levis did look really good against my Atlanta Falcons. He did not look so good last Thursday, but 10 days off for him as the starter. He's probably going to look okay this week. However, I do go Garrett Wilson, Brant. The last 3 weeks, this man has had targets of 12, 13, and 13. If you're going to pepper my guy with that many targets, how do I take him out of my lineup? There's just too much volume, even when you talk about Zach Wilson under center, because he's had in those 3 contests, he's had 90, 180 yards receiving. So it's not like these are bad targets from Zach Wilson. He just hasn't found the end zone. So people are like sleeping on him, I guess. Garrett Wilson doesn't come out of my lineup, period. Adam says Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and half-point PPR pick 3. First of all, Adam, you just wanted to come on this show and brag about how damn good your running back stable is, and I'm here for it because that is a great problem to have. I take Tony Pollard out, Brant. That's the one who I'm taking out, just again simply due to the fact that this game could be put away pretty early. Maybe you see some Deuce Vaughn or something from the Cowboys. I don't know. I just don't expect to see a whole lot of second half Cowboys studs. I just don't expect to see it, I guess.
Yeah. I have to take that Pollard out too. Any other week it would be the top 3 there, but I'm taking Pollard out. Maybe they use this week to really get him going, but I can't trust it. I'm going to go with Henry, Bijan, and Gibbs. Bijan has to get going. You guys are in the same boat as Seattle. You got to feed the ball to him. You have to give the ball to the man. You didn't waste that draft pick. Feed the man, just like we have to feed our running game.
Brant, I'm just going to go off on a small tangent here, so I apologize to everybody who's here waiting for the question to be answered. I hate Arthur Smith. I hate him. The fantasy community should hate him. Who goes out and drafts the best college running back and then is so arrogant to come out in a press conference and say, well, we don't give him the ball because he makes such an impact away from it? Are you kidding me? Anybody out there who's sitting Bijan Robinson right now, I completely get it. The one thing I will say is Jonathan Taylor's rookie year where he exploded onto the scene, it was a second half of the season kind of a deal. Arthur Smith is now effectively coaching for his life. I hope that brings down the arrogance level a little bit and we start to see Bijan Robinson getting the carries he deserves. No more Jonnu Smith end arounds near the goal line. So hopefully Bijan, I'm rolling Bijan out just because I think he's got to start being used a little bit. But yeah, Arthur Smith, if you happen to tune into the Fatboys because there's a 3:00 game this week, just know I don't care for you. He's not watching Brandon.
You screwed up my fantasy. I started 4-0 in the first 4 weeks where you used Bijan all the time, and then I haven't won since.
Yeah. All right. Mark says Calvin Ridley or Cortland Sutton, Brant. So you've got the Jags against the Niners, and then the Broncos in the Monday night contest against the Bills.
I think I have to go with Sutton. I hate to say that. Ridley's been the downfield guy, and I don't think they're going to get enough time to throw the ball down the field with that pass rush. So I have to go with Sutton on this one.
Man, Ridley's been such a disappointment this year. I'm going to go Sutton as well, Brent, just simply due to the fact that gives you that hope of the Monday night miracle in your fantasy football league. it always sucks when you have to start your entire fantasy squad in the noon slate on Sunday, and your contest is decided and you have nothing to look forward to. So I think you do go Sutton. Again, it just gives you that upside. And really, honestly, the numbers haven't been super great for Russ. The passing numbers are kind of low, but the touchdowns have been there. I think this Denver offense is a little bit better than we actually see on paper. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see them hang in this Bills game all night Monday. And it's what, the third highest score according to Vegas this week. So I'm okay with starting Sutton this week. Michael says, Kenneth Walker, Derrick Henry, or David Montgomery. He needs two of them, Brant.
I go with the first two. We have to feed Kenneth in order for us to be successful. We've seen that. So I go with the first two. I absolutely love Walker this week, and Henry's not coming out of my lineup since Levis took over. They're leaning more on him. They're allowing him to catch the ball a little bit more. They're scoring. They have to respect the downfield, so they can't stack the box on him. Derrick Henry's a set it and forget it a guy again.
I'm good with Kenneth Walker and Derrick Henry here. Kind of like you alluded to, Brant. Derrick Henry doesn't come out of your lineup at this point, so I'm cool with those first two, Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Honestly, at this point, Jahmyr Gibbs has done enough that I don't think David Montgomery should have a huge role, but Dan Campbell feels otherwise. So, obviously it's only fair to say he's going to have some role, but I just don't trust him enough with Jahmyr Gibbs back. Hill says, who should I put in my flex? Tank Dill, James Cook, or Deontay Johnson?
I'm going to assume this is PPR, and I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson. If it's standard, I'm going Tank Dell. If it's PPR, I'm going Deontay Johnson. They obviously don't trust James Cook in Buffalo. They keep adding backs. He's had some games where he's looked explosive, and then just some games where they just don't trust him. So as of right now, I'm benching Cook almost everywhere. I am going to go with Deontay Johnson in PPR and Tank in standard.
So I will say this about James Cook. I'm not choosing him for this one, but I will say this is one of the tastier matchups for a running back of the week against the Denver Broncos defense. So if you have James Cook and you need to play him, I think you can do that fairly confidently. I'm just saying I like Deontay Johnson way more in a PPR league because he's going to have 25 targets, especially with no Jair Alexander, who doesn't sound like he's playing for that Green Bay secondary. So I do go Deontay Johnson as well, Brant. Again, I think James Cook's going to be fine long-term. Vincente says, Jaleel McLaughlin or Antonio Gibson in full point PPR, Grant. How do you feel about the Denver Broncos second running back there or the Washington Commanders second running back?
I'm sorry that you have these choices. Right now, I'm going to assume it's a bye week again for you. I'm going to go with Gibson because you're guaranteed he's going to see the workload or some of the workload. And Seattle just got torched by the run by three different running backs and four if you count their running back / quarterback. So I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson on this.
So does that mean, Brant, since the Washington Commanders are playing your Seahawks, should we start Chris Rodriguez this week, the third string running back for the Commanders, who's also a rookie, just like Keaton Mitchell?
Yeah, probably should. Hey, flash play just came up on the Underdog. So guys,
sure did. You're right.
If you guys have Underdog, go check.
Sure did. CJ Stroud over half a total yard. Free money. Rocco says, hey guys, Purdy or Lawrence today. So both the quarterbacks in that same contest, Brant. I've shied away from Purdy a little bit myself today, but it's with better options. I do like Trevor Lawrence better than Purdy, just not today due to the simple fact that I'm scared of that pass rush in San Francisco. I think they make Trevor commit some uncharacteristic turnovers. I go Brock Purdy in this one.
I'm staying with Lawrence. Lawrence has looked too good. He's almost in that category where he doesn't come out of my lineups. He's almost matchup proof. Purdy you got CMC back there. You never know when you actually have to use Brock Purdy. Lawrence is a guy that I'm setting and forgetting in my lineups. He's almost become matchup proof for me.
Fair enough. All right. Ryan says, need one in PPR. Brandon Ayuk, James Cook, Devontae Adams, or Dalton Schultz. Don't know as though I'd ever thought I'd see a day where you had to question whether you'd rather play Davante Adams or Dalton Schultz, but here we are, and it's a totally valid question.
Here comes the day where I almost want to consider Dalton Schultz over Davante Adams. What does that score look like? 44.5. Man, I really like Ayuk. I've been high on Ayuk all year. I think I'm going to go with Ayuk in this. I do.
Are you scared at all that Deebo Samuel's back this week?
No, I wasn't high on him to come into this year. I'm still not high. He's coming back from injury, bye week. No, I still like Ayuk.
I'm going to go out and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to regret it probably. Out of these four names, I'm going to play Davante Adams. At some point, the Raiders have got to get that man the ball. I'm not saying it happens this week. It's just, how do you justifiably bench Davante Adams? I know how you do it because the numbers aren't great. I traded for him like an idiot in our home league a few weeks back. But yeah, I'm going Davante Adams. Dalton Schultz could be really good. James Cook could be really good. Brandon Ayuk could be really good. Davante Adams probably won't be, but I don't know. I just can't sit him. Can't do it, Grant. I can't. My pride will not let me do that. Jennifer says, if Chase doesn't play, Algier, Shakir, Robert Woods, or Jalen Reed?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Man, I want to say Jalen Reed, but I know that's the wrong choice here. That's more love. That's more love than the right choice here. I think I'd go with Algier. I think I know he'll get some work. I think I have to go with Algier. As much as I don't trust it, I think I go with Algier. That and Woods being questionable with the foot, and I believe he was out last week. He's missed 2 weeks now, so we're not even sure if Woods will play. I think I go with Algier.
Algier is probably the right choice, Brant, because I don't trust Arthur Smith to play Bijan the way he's supposed to, which means that Algier will probably have a decent workload. I love Robert Woods this week as long as he plays. I expect him to find pay dirt this week. Again, I'll talk about him a little bit later on. So I actually go Robert Woods here. Jennifer's got a split on this one. She does also say her Saints are about to have to go to the NOLA jail to get their lineups. That's not entirely inaccurate. I do believe all those Saints are missing practices, putting in the community service hours with pit bulls and parolees. So there you go. Yep, Saints are having some issues off the field. Rocco says Keaton Mitchell or Gus Edwards running in Baltimore, Brant.
I'm going with Edwards. He saw the most carries. Yes, every time that Mitchell saw the field, he saw a touch. He's played 13 snaps, saw 10 touches. But Edwards inside of the 5-yard line is money for a touchdown. I like Edwards. I know that rush defense is tough, but Edwards, I think, is still the number one running back there in Baltimore. Might not be in a couple weeks because of how explosive Mitchell was. And if he does that against the Cleveland defense this week, then he may take over. But Edwards is still the guy.
Yeah, I'm going Edwards here as well, which I almost want to get into it. We're not going to, but I almost think J.K. Dobbins is probably done in his career in Baltimore.
You want to trade for him still?
No, after how well Edwards and Mitchell have both looked this season. So yeah, just a little sub thought there. Matt says pick 2, Gibbs, Montgomery, or Kenneth Walker. Brant, who do you leave out of this list?
Montgomery is who I'm leaving out. I think Gibbs has looked too good, and like I said, we have to feed Walker. Walker has to see the ball in order for Seattle to be successful, and especially this week. So give me or take Montgomery out of that lineup.
Yeah, so there's only a few backfields in the NFL where I'd be okay starting 2 different running backs, and Gibbs and Montgomery are about the number 1 on the list where I'm okay starting 2 guys from the same team. Because, man, David Montgomery's usage could be way high. Gibbs could be left out again. I don't know. I don't know what to do there in Detroit. And Kenneth Walker really hasn't looked like Kenneth Walker here lately. They're kind of leaning Charbonnet. I know it's hard when you're getting blown out to really evaluate the running backfield, but I also leave out Montgomery here coming back off an injury. I just don't know how much he does get used this week. So it's probably closer than it should be, but I do take Montgomery out. Ryan says half point PPR, Deontay Johnson, Scary Terry, and Javonte Williams. He needs a wide receiver and a flex. Before you start answering that, Brant, he also says, assuming Hopkins is a lock in the lineup, if not, he then needs 2 wide receivers and a flex.
Yeah, I'm locking Hopkins in, Deontay Johnson in. I'm going Javonte Williams. I think Seattle's secondary has been decent enough. Sam Howell is maybe a better passer than Lamar Jackson. There's no maybe, he is, because Lamar Jackson's a running back. But I still think that Javonte Williams is in for a good game this week.
Hey, listen, I know we hate on the running back that throws the ball occasionally here, but I just want you to know Derrick Henry's got a few touchdown passes, and his pass attempts to his touchdown rate is one of the highest of all time. So running backs can get it done, Brant.
Yeah, he's probably pretty close to the same amount of yards as Lamar Jackson too.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Ryan, I think I probably lean similarly to the way Brant does. Again, I think Brant's Seahawks will create some turnovers in this game due to the fact that their secondary is really good. Sam Howell's still relatively unproven. The one exception to that is, while I think Seattle does create lots of turnovers and lots of pass defense and breakups and things of that nature, the Commanders are going to throw the ball more than anybody else this week just because that's what they do. So I think Scary Terry could still have an okay game, but I think Javonte Williams, again, I really like having that Monday miracle out there. So, all right, Patrick says, is it too early for Christmas music, Brant?
Yes. Even Christmas Eve is too early for Christmas music.
No. I've got my Christmas tree is up in the man cave. I've got the garland with the lights up everywhere. It's Christmas is puked in the Finley house already. It's Christmas season. We take a couple-day break for Thanksgiving, but it's Christmas season.
It's outside. It's outside here at the Walker house. They do have the candy canes and lights up, but no.
Adam says, Derek Carr or Will Levis, Brant?
I go Will Levis. I like his matchup this week. I like what him and D-Hop should be able to do this week. I'm going to go with Will Levis over Derek Carr this week.
Yeah, I'm going Derek Carr. I still don't trust Will Levis. He came out, perfect storm against my Atlanta Falcons, 4 touchdown passes, great game. Then he comes out and has the Thursday night game where he throws 0 touchdowns, like 175 yards, complete mediocrity. Who do you know? How do you know which one you're getting yet? You've had him be one of the best quarterbacks on the week, and then just, man, I don't know what I'm expecting out of that. Whereas Derek Carr's starting to get into a really nice groove in New Orleans. Love Chris Olave, love Rashid Shaheed this week. I'm going Derek Carr. John says, little off subject, but made a trade this week to get Hunt for Sutton. His running backs were Eckler, Tajay Spears, Roschon Johnson. His wide receivers were Olave, Deontay Johnson, Puka, and Dobbs. Was that a terrible trade? It's literally the only running back trade I could pull off. It's a 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex league. I like it personally, Brant.
I don't hate it at all.
How do you get with those wide receivers with Chris Olave, Deontay Johnson, and Puka Nacua? Are you starting Cortland Sutton over any of those 3 anyway?
No, and I don't even know if they're matchup based. I don't know if I'd start him over Dobbs. I know Dobbs hasn't been great, but neither has Sutton. So really, he's your 4th or 5th best at best.
Yeah, I don't hate that trade at all.
I think Hunt will end up sliding into being a flex start for you here shortly, because I think Roschon Johnson's going to wind up taking over that backfield here. I don't know if Foreman's looked good, but I think Johnson will have a good impact on there.
No, that's Deontay Foreman's backfield moving forward. He's done too much. Matt Ryan says, the real MVP says Alexander Madison, Jahan Dotson, Drake London start 1 and full point PPR, Brand.
I'm going with London here. I'm starting London. I think he's the one that it'll be fine. I still don't trust Madison. You got Dobbs back there, so how well is he going to throw the ball now that he knows his wide receivers' names and knows the playbook? He may not be anything now that he knows everybody. But, I'm going to go with Drake London here. Seattle secondary, like I said, has been pretty decent. I am starting Dotson somewhere, and I think it's actually against you this week because all my wideouts are on bye. So I hope for a good game from him, but I have to go London for my safety.
London's not. I'm not playing London anywhere this week. I don't trust him. Coming back from a groin injury, I don't trust Arthur Smith at all. I love Drake London. I'm going to watch this game and be rooting for them to throw the ball to him and Kyle Pitts every play, just to see that Arthur Smith is not a bona fide idiot, and is capable of using our top 10 draft picks the way they should be used. I just don't expect to see it. I'm going Alexander Madison. He's one of my favorite plays this week. I know Brant's out on him. I've been in on him a lot this week or this year, and it's not burned me much yet. So I like Alexander Madison. We're going to jump over and do the underdog plays of the week real quick, and then we'll come back and get some of these questions rapid fire to make sure we don't miss any, Brant. But nonetheless, Underdog and the Fantasyholics have partnered this year. If you use the promo code HOLICS when you sign up, they will double your initial deposit up to $100. So you can get in there and tail some of these bets that Brant and I come at you with each and every week. So here we go, Brant. You ready to get into this?
Let's do it.
All right, Brant, go ahead and take us through your top 5 first.
First off, get in there. You got about 15 minutes, so get in there. Get this free square with the CJ Stroud over a half a yard. You got about 15 minutes left before it expires. Little flash play. So that's a free square for you. Tail some of these bets. We're going to both come at you with 5 right now, so we'll give you 10 more to come at you with. But grab that free square with CJ Stroud. I'm going with first one, Sam Laporta, higher than 50.5 receiving yards. I just expect this game to be a little high-powered offense. Sam Laporta has been a very good beneficiary of it. So give me him to go higher than 50.5 receiving yards. And then I'm going to put these two together right now. It's Will Levis over 19.5 completions, higher than 19.5 completions, and DeAndre Hopkins to go higher than 62.5 receiving yards. I absolutely love the matchup they have this week. They're going against one of the worst secondaries this week. So give me both of them to have a great game. Higher than 19.5 completion for Levis and higher than 62.5 receiving yards. Then the other one, my favorite play of the week, one of my favorite receivers this week, who I think is going to be the beneficiary of it. That's Mike Evans, higher than 60.5 receiving yards as well in that game. I like both those, him and D-Hop, to go higher than the receiving yards. Now, for my under, this guy is a touchdown scorer for me, but I'm taking his lower. It's Gus Edwards, lower than 47.5 rushing yards. He sees the ball inside the 5, and that's about the only time that he really gains more than 4 yards per carry. So I expect him to go lower than 47.5 rushing yards this week.
All right, Brant, those are all pretty decent. I'm going to start with my first, or change my order a little bit. This one was not my first one, but I'm going to bring it up first just because it does coincide with the flash play on Underdog. I actually had CJ Stroud to go higher than 263.5 total yards this week, rushing and passing. So again, obviously the half of a yard is a lock with CJ Stroud. I have Travis Etienne to go lower, Brant, than 94.5 total yards. I'm going to make this one short, sweet, and to the point. San Francisco 49ers defense. Alvin Kamara, I have to go higher than 4 receptions this week. He's been a total focal point for Derek Carr in that offense. I don't expect that to change against a pretty weak Vikings defense that likes to blitz a lot. How do you beat the blitz, Brant? Quick dump off passes, screen passes to your running back. Saquon Barkley, I had to go for higher than 16.5 rush attempts. He is the only thing that's relevant in this Giants offense. Brian Daboll uses and abuses him. We've seen him have 40 touches in a game already this year. Easy goes over 16.5. He may have that at half. And then last is Bijan Robinson, higher than 12.5 rush attempts. I know that seems like it should be a lock, but with Arthur Smith in town, it's not been to this point. Arthur Smith, again, is coaching for his career. I think Bijan Robinson goes well over 12.5 attempts, Brant.
Beautiful kick.
All right, here we go. Getting back into these questions here. See if we can rapid fire move through some of these a little quicker than what we had been doing, Brant. Kayla says, now y'all have me questioning fantasy football life, Pollard or Madison. ETN is her running back one. What do you do with Pollard versus Madison?
This week I choose Madison over just because, like you said, like we both talked to, Pollard is in a game that could end up being a blowout. You could see Deuce Vaughn and whatever other running backs are back there. So I do lean Madison this week.
Yeah, it's really close for me. I think both of these running backs will put up some points. Maybe Pollard has 2 touchdowns early, but if Pollard doesn't get involved early, I'm not sure he's relevant this week just because it's going to be such a blowout. And Pollard really hasn't been that great so far this season. So I do go Alexander Madison just slightly. And breaking news: Adam Schefter reports Jamar Chase is expected to play this week. But it is unclear what his workload will be and if there are any restrictions. So there you go. He will play. Not sure what you'll get out of Jamar Chase this week. Paul says, morning, in a pickle from Thursday night game. He said he played Chuba Hubbard and got 5 points. Needs a home run out of the ballpark between Jahmyr Gibbs, Jalen Warren, or he could go to the waiver for Devin Singletary for running back. His other normal running back is Swift, who's on a bye week here, Brant.
Go with Gibbs. I think Gibbs is the home run. I think that guy has home run ability. He can take any ball to the house. So, yeah, give me Gibbs this week.
Completely agree, Brant. Give me Gibbs. Matt says pick 3, Montgomery, Gibbs, Pollard, and Walker.
Gibbs and Walker. 3. Gibbs, Pollard, and Walker. I'm not trusting Monty at all.
Yeah, I agree. Pollard is the one player – Montgomery's the one player I think I'm okay starting Pollard over because, again, Pollard could get going early. So, yeah, I Gibbs and Walker I like quite a bit this week. Michael says, I've got D-Hop and Deontay Johnson as my wide receiver and St. Brown at the flex. Still have Montgomery on the bench. Should I keep it the same? And then he does follow up with a tight end question. We'll get into that in a minute. Do you see would you put Montgomery in over any of those 3 wide receivers, Brant?
No, sir. I like them all this week.
Me neither. I think I'm good with what you got there, Michael. And then he says at tight end, he's got Taysom Hill, George Kittle, or Jonnu Smith, Brant.
Kittle. Honestly, don't know. I got to go Kittle on this. He has the home run ability, and Taysom, I don't know. He scares me still.
So for me, if the 49ers asked George Kittle to be Travis Kelce and be the focal point of their offense, he could do it. That's not what they ask him to do in this offense. They ask him to be a blocking tight end, go out and catch 3 passes a week. When they do ask him to do that workload, he's phenomenal for fantasy. I have gotten to the point where I don't trust Kittle. I am rolling Taysom Hill here. I think it should be illegal for that man to have a tight end designation on his fantasy values, but he does, and until he doesn't, I have to start him. The touchdown passing, the 5-yard and in plays, and then the amount of routes he's running, it's just really hard for me to sit him right now. So I do go Taysom Hill over George Kittle. Michael says Devin Singletary or Keaton Mitchell, Brant.
As much as I love Mitchell, and I said it multiple weeks ago to go pick him up, I still am going to go with Singletary here. I want to see what that looks like this week.
I'm pretty sure, Brant, I'm checking it as fast as I can, but I'm pretty sure Dameon Pierce didn't practice at all this week.
Dameon Pierce has already been ruled out. He's already been ruled out.
Yes, so for that purpose, I do go Devin Singletary without question here. Devin Singletary is the guy I'm playing over Keaton Mitchell. Jennifer says quarterback Christian Watson, Deshaun Watson, or Derek Carr in PPR, Brant.
Man, that's going to be a run-fest game. Oh man, give me Carr over Watson this week. I don't see many fantasy points outside of the running backs in that game.
Okay, I'm going Carr as well. 2 of the best defenses playing each other this week. I don't expect a ton of fantasy relevancy out of that Browns and Ravens game, and the fantasy relevancy I do expect doesn't come from Deshaun Watson. So we're in agreement again there, Brant. Michael says Sam Howell or Will Levis.
Most of Lamar's points last week came off the rush, and I don't see Howell running like that. So give me Will Levis this week.
Yeah, I don't see Will Levis or Sam Howell having a huge game again. I think that Seahawks secondary is too good. You guys got your behind spanked last week. I think this should be a really, really good game for your Seattle Seahawks and a huge bounce back. Come out and put the league on notice type of a performance this week. So, I go Will Levis, and I'm not a huge Will Levis fan at this point. I want to see him be a little more consistent. So,
I'm going to cut in just real fast. Bobby walked off the field last week and did not remove his helmet. I'm assuming he probably went in there and ripped that defense a new one. So I expect a huge bounce back for that defense this week.
Okay. Real quick, I want to go over the Frankfurt game. We are at half for those of you that aren't watching. Gardner Minshew has 119 yards passing. JT has 40 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown. Leading receiver for the Colts, Michael Pittman, 4 receptions for 40 yards. On the Patriots side of the ball, Mac Jones having a relatively nice day, 10 for 11 for 105 yards. Ramondre Stevenson and Zeke both in the 20-yard range for rushing yards. And then the leader in the clubhouse for the Patriots at half is Demario Douglas, who has 3 receptions for 45 yards. Brant was wanting a little bit of a Juju Smith-Schuster contest this week, and he has not been involved once yet. So there's your real quick recap on the London game.
I have no idea how to pronounce this name on defense for the Colts. The defensive end number 54, Deo, has 3 sacks in the first half on Mac Jones. Mac Jones, while his passing numbers are good, he's holding that ball way too long, in my own opinion.
Sure. All right. Jan says Goff or Dobbs, and then he says Taysom Hill or Sam Laporta. All right. So first of all, Brant, are we in agreement on the quarterback that it's Jared Goff?
Yes, Goff, and I'm going to go with Laporta.
So I did say earlier, if it wasn't the tight end wasn't named Kelsey or Mark Andrews, I'm starting Taysom Hill over him. I will retract that a little bit. Sam Laporta and Dalton Kincaid are in there for me as well right now. Sam Laporta has been too big of a piece of that Detroit offense. I'm not benching him at this point. So, yeah, I will start Laporta over Taysom Hill, Brant. All right. We've got about 4 minutes left here, barring any last-minute questions. Brant, what is on the menu for this week for the Walkers?
So, kid has practice a little later. We are actually going to go out to eat after the 3 o'clock games. So I'll miss. I got a coach's meeting to go to. I'll be missing a little bit of the Sunday night game. We're going to go out to a little Italian restaurant. So, and leading up to that, I'm sure it will just be some appetizers and mac and cheese and stuff for lunch. Nothing too special this week. So, I'll get back on that plan next week. I didn't go to the store between now and Baltimore, or since I got back from Baltimore. So, fridge is still a little bare.
All right. Me and the missus went and did our Christmas shopping yesterday, kind of like I had alluded to. It's definitely Christmas season in our household. Knocked out a good chunk of that, but we did reward ourselves for our hard work and picked up lunch to bring home. My wife got a little Chipotle. I got a little Jersey Mike's action for lunch, and then we're going to have some gyros for dinner. We're on a little gyro kick, making homemade gyros here. So we're going to do pizza for the kids, gyros for us, and like I said, the rewards from hard days of spending way too much money yesterday for lunch. So I do not have plans. I will be on the couch watching football all day. So I'm pretty excited about that, Brant. All right. Again, we got about 2 minutes left here before we jump off. Brant, walk me through your touchdown scores. Who finds the end zone this week?
I got Kenneth Walker finding the end zone. I got Sam Laporta finding the end zone. I got Joe Mixon finding the end zone. I got Gus Edwards to find the end zone, even though he won't have very many rushing yards. Then my sleeper touchdown score this week, Irv Smith Jr., even if Jamar Chase plays. Like I said, I have no idea how much he will actually play. I think Irv Smith finds the end zone.
All right. You're a big Kenneth Walker fan. I love it. You stay consistent. He's your Adam Thielen. So there you go. I've got touchdown scores this week. I've got Alexander Madison, like I alluded to. I think he just falls into the end zone at the right time this week. I've got Rashad White to find the end zone this week. CeeDee Lamb to continue his hot streak and find the end zone in that route of the New York Giants. It's going to happen later. And then my sneaky touchdown guy, who I talked about a little bit earlier this week, is actually Robert Woods, Brant. And you know that I've had nothing but a love-hate relationship with that man when it comes to football since we've really been playing fantasy football. So bittersweet for me to say that I think he finds the end zone this week, but I'm putting too much stock into CJ Stroud right now. All his pass catchers have a chance, and I like Robert Woods this week and no Nico Collins.
Okay.
So that pretty well wraps up this week for us. Again, some fun things to look forward to today, some really good contests. If you didn't get your question in time with us, don't hesitate. There is a Start Sit Facebook post open on the Fantasyholics Facebook page. Those guys are very responsive, really quick to jump on there and answer your questions. So don't hesitate to jump over there and get your start sits answered as we get moving on. Hopefully everybody has a good week of fantasy, right?
Hey, before we move on, does CMC continue the streak?
CMC continues the streak.
All right. I know I went out on 11 a few weeks ago. I'll never do that again. As always, guys, stay hungry.
Stay fat, my friends.